So we started out with artists, with crafters, with academics, with a range of people. And it was a kind of bottom-up approach where people came together out of a real need to preserve and keep the memory of District 6 alive. So you see some of the texture, this is what we call the memory cloth. It's a very important part of the kind of the way we work with memory as we generate from a intangible to tangible. So we had, in fact, it happened very organically. The very first memory cloth that kind of came out of an exhibition very spontaneously was in 1992 when someone took a curtain down, a calico curtain, and then draped it over a piece of board and then said to people, please write. And people were just taken up with so much emotion and they just started writing. So we have meters and meters of this cloth. And then we thought we can create a project around it. And then we put crafters from the community together to start an embroidery project, which then led to a bigger embroidery project with crafters, which we can see along these banners here. And these banners represent all the different types of sporting codes, religion, political organizations, and the kind of social groups that really knitted the community together in District 6. And this project here, what we call the banner embroidery project, was a very important moment for us as well, as we had realized that many of the skills that we thought still existed in the community had all kind of dissipated and disappeared, and we had to start from scratch. So in a way, we're also learning to kind of appropriate or re-look at and revisit those skills that once was lost because of displacement the displacement of a community that was so closely knit. The street signs work in tandem with the floor map. So we, in the absence of District 6, we revisited the map, the street map of District 6, with the intention of getting people, ex-residents, to come here and in a way perform memory where they could come and see which street their family had once lived, and then write their family names or their neighbors who lived next to them and so forth. So this is another source of how we work, where we work with memory, and also how we collect information from people. So the memory cloth is also the testimony together with a map, and also how then artists would take this information and work with it. And we've been very fortunate because many of the artists that we've been working with over time were also involved in, they were very active in the 1980s during the apartheid struggle, and they were very much part of the resistance movement. So a lot of them migrated into this space. It was a beautiful transition, if you like. So this exhibition, in a way, is like a huge canvas. So if you look up there, and these are the upstairs or the gallery space, really talks to the kind of satellite stories where we work a lot with oral histories. And I think that is the core of our business, that oral histories play a very important part in how we translate or we express or we work with that memory in a dynamic way. I will then just give you an example of that with Novuyo's room, where we were particularly looking at how we relate to streets and the interior spaces of families in District 6, because there was a stereotype that the apartheid government had painted about many of the community of District 6, that it was a slum and there was no culture there. There wasn't a sense of culture. But here in the family albums, we come across many, many stories of ordinary people living ordinary lives, but rich. It was rich with information. It was rich with culture and tradition, from weddings to funerals to dying to baptisms, and it all kind of, it was all woven together in this space called District 6. And that's why when we talk about the heart of the city being removed, it was like the heart of the city being removed in District 6 when people were removed. Because the very fabric of that culture was broken, So we try in a way to create that texture in the museum. And that texture brings us the kind of language and how we work with surfaces. So from the surfaces of the map to the surfaces of the mural up there, which is all a collage of stories, of vignettes of stories of districts coming together, we are able to produce new knowledge. So this room, we and our family stayed in Cross Street in District 6, and their family was removed in earlier removal in 1963. So this room that you see here today is mapped, is a footprint of Nomvuyo, who had given us oral testimony and also had written a book called Salagashle, which means Farewell District 6, where she writes her memoirs on her family and District 6 and how they related to the community and culture and tradition of District 6. So this here, as you see, is the little kitchen exactly how it was, and we got all the information from, so some of these artifacts are from District 6, and we've kind of got it from all over, from different families who brought their belongings to the museum to bring together this installation that you see here. But the beauty of this was that we could work with Nomvuyo and we could work with her in real time, which is amazing. We are, in a way, we were very privileged to have the opportunity to work with ex-residents as artists, to work with ex-residents, and they themselves would become authors. So reclaiming their spaces in a way. And it is a process of healing, because apartheid forced removals was a violent act against humanity. So we then really begin to start interrogating the interior space. And here we can see the bedroom. So you can see people were very neat. There's a very dignified relationship with space and family. So we're going to go this way. This is the section where we start talking about the brutality of what the Declaration of 1966, February 1966 was, when apartheid laws was official to remove 60,000 people out of District 6. These are some of the signs that we used to have in public spaces that would divide us. This was actually on the train, so it's on a bench here. So we've kind of reinterpreted some of the things, but these were some of the things that people would bring to us over time. So we were often, as a young person coming from that generation, we were not allowed to go to places. We were not allowed to go to public places. All of these signs would tell us where. So the thing about apartheid, it was not only psychological, it was physical, it was spatial, it was everything. It was ingrained into our very lives, into the spirit of our lives. And therefore, the idea of District 6 and to bring District 6 to the surface with all its wealth and its richness of its politics, of its culture, of its artists was very important. So this map here again, I return back to the map because it's probably the most important part of the kind of what we say, the performance of memory. We will act memory. And many residents do, because this is what triggers them off. But in order for that to happen, we had to have the map on the floor. And this is where the artists play a very important role. So from Uncle Lionel, who's featured as one of our featured artists, him and there were other artists very important in the history of South Africa, like Lionel, poets and writers. They all came together, and each one had taken a part of canvas and collectively brought it together. So here you would see some of the writings of Peter Clark, for instance, and unfortunately he's not here with us today, but he had a great inspiration in this place as an artist and a writer. And some of the elements that we've brought, we've been working with artists, not only in the space, I think that we've kind of, we see this as a base, we see this as a conversation, but this conversation has broadened over the last 26 years being here. We work a lot with the community, we do lots of different projects, and it's always been facilitated by artists. So all of these stories, that what we call the satellite stories, from Hanover Street to the wash house, to the barber shop, to the different elements and kind of smaller stories within stories, they have been kind of scaled up in our project work, which we have done over the last, I would say, 10, 15 years, where we really started having to develop and creating this kind of bank of knowledge and also relationships with young people and older people, intergenerational group have we really started to work on. So I'm going to allow for Lionel, who is with us, to say a few words around his artwork. He's been very instrumental in working with us. So a word from Lionel. Thank you.